And please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Fisher?
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck here, Treasurer Brown?
Here.
Trustee Aliaga?
Here.
Trustee Nalamalfu?
Here.
And Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any board announcements tonight?
You have a couple questions? Just a couple announcements. Since we were talking last week about, we're gonna have a meeting, and thank you for that. So we're gonna talk about DDA
Tomorrow.
later around. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yes, sure.
I was wondering, since I have everybody here together, if it's a way that we can put together a workshop, so about the DDA, maybe we can have Mr. Dick Carline coming here and educate everybody, because I think it will be important for everyone before we make an important decision about that, to know more about the DDA. Quite frankly, I know very little about that, and I think if you can make sure, maybe no, I think the next meeting probably is already, the agenda probably is full, but maybe November 15, we can get Mr. Carline to come and
I think
bring
he'll
up.
be, yeah, I think he'll be ready then.
Mhm.
He's working on some things, and so
Mhm.
absolutely, I'll make sure that he's available.
Sure. And lastly, about tonight, we're not making any decisions tonight, right? This is today's interviews, and you're saying it's two more candidates?
Two more, yeah.
for.
Two
So
more
we're not
candidates.
making decision tonight?
Correct.
All right.
I wouldn't
That's all.
say
Thank you.
that. I mean, the board can still take action
Yeah.
at this
I-
meeting.
That's
I-
why
It's
I'm
on the
asking
agenda
that.
to take action.
Yeah.
So the board can take action?
Yes,
There's,
the board
It is.
can.
as far as I can see, we're not intending to do that, but it could happen.
So, well, yeah, because I believe that we should interview every single candidate, everyone that can apply, and make a decision on the first. It's just me saying that. That's all.
Yep,
I think we'll be better. That's all. Thank you.
thank you.
I have
Anybody?
one little comment.
Yeah.
Just because Halloween's right around the corner, and it's one of my favorite things, and there's always issues in the township about what are hours. The hours for Halloween and trick-or-treating are only suggestions. Nobody can tell you how long to leave your door open or leave your light on, so nobody has to follow stopping at 7 PM like the rules say in the paper or the suggested time slot. I'm just letting it out there. It's letting people know. That's all. So I hope the kids have great weather on Monday.
I think to piggyback on that, Terry, I think we've always suggested that each subdivision or neighborhood should, kind of set their own rules or whatever they want for their area and their kids, whatever they feel is appropriate, so.
Good point.
Anything else from the board? Any public announcements? Anybody online? Announcement? Hearing none, now we'll go to item F, which is public comment. So this would be the ability of the members of the public to make a comment on anything that's not on the agenda. And you can speak for 5 minutes, be recognized, and come up to the podium and give your name and address, please. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to say it, but,
If it's not on the agenda, it's the appropriate time.
okay. Well, it sort of is on the agenda. Anyway, my name is Vincent Pizzone. That's 7925 Foster Road here in Clarkston. One of the things that I did was I went on the website, on the Independence Township website, to see if there were any qualifications for trustees. And there seem not to be. You have to belong to a political party, you gotta live here for 30 days, you gotta be a registered voter, about it. So what that suggests to me is that there's no way to make an objective decision about who we're gonna select as trustees to fill these two vacant slots. which leads us to the problem of, potential problem of cronyism. And it's incestuous. When I looked at the number of people who were running for office here, 75% of them have some kind of affiliation with the town, either previously or currently, either employees or were members of the board or whatever. So that gets me to the point of saying that, you know, the board's supposed to be representative of the people, not representative of the board members, okay? So I'm calling for, instead of this process that you are contemplating this evening, is to have a vote and to have a special election for the trustees for the vacant trustee positions. That seems only fair, to have the people have a say in it and not recycle people through this township all the time. I mean, come on. You know, you're going to vote. Who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for your friends. You're going to vote for people that you like, you don't like, you won't vote for. I mean, come on. It's going to be totally subjective, and it's not at all going to be fair. So that's my 2 cents worth. I think we ought to spend the money, whatever it is, $40,000 I heard thrown around at one point. We have $50 million in the bank. $40,000 isn't going to hurt us. And that's what I think we should do with this. And I think that would be transparent and appropriate for the township to elect trustees and not be appointing them by yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's David Hayward. I'm at 6764 Berwick Drive in Clarkston. And I echo the same sentiments. Mr. Fisher, you were appointed after Mr. Kittle resigned. Mr. Brown resigned as treasurer. He returned to public service and then returned as a trustee, resigned again so he could be appointed to treasurer. Ms. Bellata resigned and now looking for a reappointment. Mr. Tedder was appointed a trustee, resigned, and now looking for another reappointment. I'm seeing a pattern of resignations and appointments. Ms. Bellata and Mr. Tedder should not be considered based on their resignations, which causes concern regarding stability. We're seeing too many appointments to elected positions where the people of Independence Township don't have a voice. These people aren't being heard or represented as they should be in this case. If we're going to appoint somebody, the only person that I could see would be Mr. Morocco, only based on the fact that he recently ran. Of course, he did lose by a narrow margin, but at least had nearly half of the votes in the township up against the person he ran against. So he does have half the support nearly. But ultimately, I believe as well that we need to have a special election for this opening rather than another appointment. We need to let the people decide who they want to represent them, not the board. There needs to be more opportunity for people to serve on this board from within the community based on elections instead of the old blood being appointed to positions they've had once or twice already resigned from. So leave this decision to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Yes.
Cheryl Janakis, 8990 Woodlawn Avenue. I just have a quick question. Are you insinuating that you may take a vote tonight?
I was just saying it's on the agenda, so.
So that would be a yes. Okay, well, it
No,
seems
can-
like,
Can I
Sure.
think what we just wanted to indicate is to not mislead someone to say that we are not taking a vote, when at any moment, a member of the board, at any time when we're in session, has the right to make a motion, really about anything.
correct.
And if it's seconded, it would go forward. We just didn't want, in answering that question for Jose, we didn't want anyone to think that we're saying we're not going to do anything when someone could. I don't believe anybody's got the intention to, but that exists under the rules of the board. I know of no such intention.
Okay, because
Okay.
that kind of seems to be the history here, the last few elections. But all of the applicants for trustee positions, they deserve their due process. I do believe you have a fiduciary duty to act in good faith in this. And we kind of see what's going on here, and it's getting kind of discouraging. This would be the third time that this happened, that basically you push for a vote without actually listening to all the applicants, which basically, in my mind, and a lot of other people's mind, it's like you already have your mind made up. I would just like to know why. Why would you want to make a decision tonight?
No one's indicated we want to.
Okay. And
No, I
another
don't believe
question
anybody's
is.
gonna make a decision tonight.
Okay.
But the rule would allow anybody to do it. I just didn't want you to think we could say it's not happening. If someone
I've seen it
tries to make
happen.
if someone tries to make a motion, then the board acts on the
Right,
motion.
that's what happened
Yeah.
with you, Paul, so
Yep.
I was just
Yeah,
clarifying.
I just didn't want you to feel like didn't tell the truth up front and then something happens. I don't think anything's gonna happen, but,
Okay, well,
yeah.
let's carry on then.
Anybody else?
Ray Llewellyn, 9254 Pine Knob Road. I just would like to, agree with what Vince said and what this gentleman said about the special election. And two, as this gentleman pointed out, I may like all the candidates, but like he pointed out, Barb Pilata, she was the clerk, she resigned. Jim Tedder was the trustee, he resigned. If these people resigned when they previously had positions, how are we to think, no, we're not voting on it, but how are we as residents to think, okay, now they want this position and they're gonna stay in it? To us, it's like, well, you had your chance once before and you left. I think it's time to bring new people in, and also like he said, this gentleman, about Sam Morocco, he came in second. He has definitely shown that people in this community, in this township, support him. He, as a resident, he gives a tremendous, tremendous amount back to this community with just off his back. And he's been extremely involved, besides adults, with the students in this community, with the Bailey House. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? For those people that have just come in, this is public comment for matters not on the agenda. Anybody care to speak? Anybody online? Okay. Thank you very much. Then we will go to our business on the special meeting agenda, and that would be the trustee appointment interviews. And the first candidate for interview will be Madison Devine. So we'll be here for 5 minutes or 15 minutes reviewing yours. Yeah, the 5 minutes is if you'd like to make an initial statement for 5 minutes or thereabouts, and then we can ask a few questions, and if there's time left, then you can make a closing statement.
Okay, just initial statement up there or right here?
That right there is fine.
Okay.
If you feel more comfortable up there, that's okay too.
I also want to kind of talk to everybody. So, my name is Madison Devine, born and raised in Clarkston, 2011 graduate from Clarkston High School. After college graduation, thought I would, move to a city like all of my friends did, and decided to come back to Clarkston where my roots are. Bought my home 5 years ago, just got married in June, planning on keeping my roots here. My grandfather was actually a 1952 graduate of Clarkston High School as well, so my family has been here for a long time in this town.
Ms. Devine, you should really direct your
Sorry.
comments up here, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
This town, these people.
I think everybody can hear.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But this town and these people, these are my friends, these are my family, this is my community, and I just want to give back in every way that I can. I previously served as a variety of positions within the township when I was employed. So, to your point, yes, I was a previous employee. Left for a better opportunity for me and my family, but truly love everything there is about Independence Township and want to be involved in any way I can.
Okay, great.
Sure. I'll start with the first question.
Okay.
In terms of personal goals, was there anything that has motivated you to seek appointment for the township trustee position? If you need me to repeat it.
No,
Let me know.
that's okay. Personal goals. I wouldn't say it's like a personal goal as much. Like I was just kind of saying, I love this community, love this town, and I want to make sure that it continues to be a reflection of something that I'm proud to be a part of. I think that I offer a unique and kind of fresh perspective to the board. Kind of what I've heard before, it honestly has been kind of a recycling of people from time and time, and there's a pro and a con to that, right? It's good because you know what's going on, you're familiar, but also it doesn't really allow for that fresh breath of new ideas, new thoughts, maybe a difference of opinion. So I guess that would be my personal goal of being appointed trustee, just kind of offering that maybe other side of the coin to an idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second question would be, all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, I fully intend to fill any responsibility that this position would require. As far as the reading materials, I mean, if that's part of the position, cool, great. If that will provide insight as to what's going on, the issues at hand, opinions that people have, that's powerful.
Great.
Question number 3. When you think about the future goals of this township, what are the most important goals you would like to participate in bringing to reality?
Interesting. So it's funny, I've always considered myself, well, for one thing, I'm not a huge fan of change. It can be hard to accept that something is changing, right? As much as I want the small town, little comfort, hallmark city that I grew up in, where the streetlights start blinking yellow at 7 p.m. I also understand that it can't always be like that. I don't want to see our township turn into an overbuilt, over-commercialized, not an original tree to be found community. And I think we've done a good job in our master plan of making sure that we have both rural and developed areas. But I think just making sure that there's always that balance of keeping, preserving what's there while also introducing advantageous commercial areas.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Last question, although board members may have other questions. What personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for the purpose of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
Okay. Yeah, so I think my background in working for the township provides a lot of just inherent insight for me, right? I've worked in the assessing department. I have a very good understanding of assessing and property tax in that sense. I worked in the treasurer's office where, again, I was touching property tax and revenue expense items. So I've seen a lot of that just internally. I also was secretary of the Information Oversight Technology Committee, right? So I got to be a part of a lot of the conversations and the RFPs for bringing in new technology to the township, which I think is so important, right? Maintaining the old while bringing in cool new things, that is how we are going to survive throughout time, right? So my background with the township, I think, would be helpful with that. And then also my current job, I am actually a consultant for a public sector technology company. So I work with municipalities all over the nation and help them set up their financial suites. So I have just so much insight into how other municipalities do things and current events that are going on for them. And I think I can bring in a lot of maybe different perspective,
Okay,
just from
thank
what
you.
I've seen.
Any other township board members have follow-up questions?
Yes?
Just one comment.
All right, go
1
ahead.
minute, Jose. I just think that it's important that we make note that whatever is asked of her, that it's continued to ask of all the others. So, okay,
Okay, yeah,
for fairness.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Madison,
Yes?
nice to see you. I remember
Yes.
to see you before,
Oh,
and
yes.
very impressive resume, by the way, and
Thank you.
I read it, it's very nice. My question for you is, what do you think is the biggest challenge for the township currently, right now?
The biggest challenge for the township.
As a township, yeah.
Yeah. I really think right now there is like a bit of a reliability issue that we're running into. I don't think there's a lot of faith that the people at hand are guiding us in the correct way. You know, from what we've heard, myself included, sometimes I kind of wonder why decisions are being made, and it makes me kind of nervous for what I'm seeing. Right? And I know that's kind of a wide-scale concern to have, but I think just increasing that transparency, allowing opinions to be heard, I think we could do a little better with that.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you have any closing remarks? I think we've got a couple minutes left.
I do not, no.
Okay.
I am all set.
Well, thank you very much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And,
Thanks for your time.
and we'll be deliberating over this.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
Next candidate is Sam Morocco. Okay.
Just a little ahead.
We're a little ahead, yeah.
It's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Can she stay or she?
If she wants to.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Mr. Morocco, you're on.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we've got, it'll be 15 minutes per person. You can make a opening remark for roughly 5 minutes, and then we'll ask a few questions.
Okay, well, how about you ask the questions and I'll make a closing remark? Then
Your
I'll
choice.
know what the questions are, then we don't have to be repetitive.
That's your choice, sure.
I'm good with that, are we good with that?
All right, I'll start
Shoot.
off with the first question.
Okay.
In terms of personal goals, was there anything that has motivated you to seek appointment for the township trustee position?
Well, as you know, I've been involved in the township for about 20 years as a planning commissioner. We bought saved the old Stickney home, decided that this is where we were gonna stay. Not originally from here. Moved here in '91 when we built the Spring Lake subdivision, the first PUD in the township. Been super involved. This is where we wanna retire, like I said, so it's important to me that the township develops in a manner that we like or that meets us. We didn't want it to overdevelop. That's my biggest thing is that. I participate in a lot of stuff in the community. A lot of people know me. I volunteer for a lot of nonprofits, do a lot of stuff. I think that I want to help the township be successful. A few tweaks I'd like to monitor to keep it the way I like it. I think that being able to have a seat at the table and participate, that I can bring a lot to the township, not only the history of me being involved, for 20 years, but also my construction knowledge, and then also the, my interfacing with all the customers and people in the community. So I know a lot of people in the community, community probably more than most because I interface with them. So I want, and having built all the subdivisions I have in the township and all the houses, of course I want the township to be successful and the place that everyone is anticipating it to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Second question, all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
I think I've certainly proven I have the interest. Certainly the time. I own my own business, so I'm pretty flexible. I have an office staff to take care of things. I've been in business 30 years. we're a referral-based company, so I don't have to, I don't have a lot of outside stuff other than managing the projects that we do. I typically don't go south of M59 for work, so we try to work strictly locally. Being a historical restoration being my specialty, being in a town like Clarkston makes it nice, so I think I have a lot more time. I don't have any commute time, but I think that just from my experience and all the different things I've done for the township, that I've shown that I'm certainly willing to make the time for the township a priority.
Okay, thank you.
Question number 3. When you think about the future of the township, what are the most important goals you would like to participate in bringing to reality?
Well, I've been very, I spearheaded the revitalization of Dixie Highway back in the 2000s. So I think that one of that, to get Dixie Highway to be a stretch of US highway in the township that's special. I worked for a long time trying to get signage for Dixie Highway and actually got money budgeted for it at one point, and then it never happened, but we did back in the day with Neil Wallace and stuff. So we had, even back then, so that would be one of the bigger things, the preservation of the rural areas. I think that me coming to the board would bring some representation to the rural area, since I live out on Big Acre property and know a lot of people that do out there. So I think that that's something that is important, you know. But overall, I think the Dixie thing, we've got some other challenges. I don't know what the questions are, so I don't know what basis to cover. I mean, the inflation thing that Paul has mentioned is certainly going to be huge. I see it in my business. Our houses are running 50 to 100,000 over budget because of it. So I can only imagine the scale that the township's going to be working with on that. So to offset some of that stuff, like the city hall for the village of Clarkston, I built that for them at a reduced rate with the high school kids because they couldn't afford to. We did the senior center here in Independence with Dave Belcher and Charlie Dunn, where I donated all the construction management because we couldn't afford a safe place for the seniors at that point. So, just try to help out where I can and better make the township better. I hope that I'm not putting my effort in for no reason. That there's I think that we get some, I've contributed quite a bit in certain places and times.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question number 4. What personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for the purpose of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
I think I'll start with my interfacing and touch with the residents. I think I come in contact with more than most people would because of my field, and the projects that I do are 6 months to a year, so I really get to know the people, and then they know how involved I am, and that creates dialogue. And so I kind of have I think I have a good thumb on the residents. My 20 years as a planning commissioner, I probably got a couple dozen certifications from the Brick Institute and Cool Cities, Michigan, and all the programs that we took as a planning commissioner for the township that I bring to the table. My building experience, 30 years as a builder, strictly as a referral base, never ran out of work, so I think that speaks for itself. So I think I have a lot to offer that is going to be hard to replace, and I also know an extensive amount of the history of the township and how it got here. I made the motion to deny Walmart when that was coming. I got involved when Ryder Truck was coming. I don't know how many of you are, Jerry might remember that one, but that's going way back. Was involved with the McLaren, the Beaumont. I've got a little gold shovel from the Dixie Highway when it turned or Sashaba when it turned into a boulevard, being part of that. I've worked on 3 master plans for the township over the last 20 years, so I'd say I could bring a fair amount of benefit and knowledge.
Okay, thanks. Jose?
I think he already answered the question, but I can still
Well, just to be consistent.
Sure. my question is, what do you think is the biggest challenge for Independence Township?
My two top things
Mhm.
from, is on an administrative side and is going to be the inflation thing. On the helping the resident side, I think it's going to be the road issue and the subdivisions and being able to figure out a way to get these SADs to be more affordable. The terms are just not long enough. We got to find a way to make the people whose streets they are responsible for them, but in a way that they can afford to maintain them. And that's, I'm not for using taxpayers' money on private roads, but I'm for finding a way to amortize the cost longer, figure out a way to fund it with other means long-term, because it's just getting out of control. Some of these roads, I always tell people, I'm happy I live on a dirt road because it's smooth half the time. And those, some of these roads are just never passable. So I feel bad for the people, but having been building subdivisions and on association boards and all that, and working with residents, I know that some people just can't afford to participate. And it just always seems to be just enough of them that, we're not, I don't think we're putting out an attractive enough package to make it fiscally, available for the residents to be able to do it. And so I would say that those two things are, I think, the biggest challenges that is, and it's going to need to be addressed really soon. It's been going on way too long,
Great. All right, those are the questions, and so it's wide open for you to make your remarks.
Okay, well, I think that I covered most everything. I'd like to, in closing, like I said, I've worked for the township for a long time. I donate, I volunteer, I can make things happen. I was just talking to Derek in the back about the Brady Lodge and the heating thing. It's like there's a way, it appears there's not a way to do it in a reasonable financial way, but not through the avenue that the board uses. And I think I could figure out a way to do it. We did it for the senior center, we did it for the city hall, in the village of Clarkston for them. So I think that bringing that experience to it is something that I would like to do because I get things done. I know that a lot of we've got a lot of pushback. I know that you guys are concerned about how I try to get things done, and but I think that if you watch the video or see me in any time I was in the capacity of representing the township, that I do it always in a professional way, and in a way that's in the best interest of the people. I just want to continue that. I'd like to support Jose and what he's doing, and I would like to be involved in the development of the community. I don't think we're that far off. I'm not an anti-development guy, but I think we can do a lot better, and I think we did do a lot better in the past. So I'd like to try to steer that into a little, we're running out of land, so I think we got to be a little bit more careful and selective about what we do to wrap it up for the residents. And my theory about the township in closing is that I don't think that we want to be a destination. We want to just provide the best services for the residents that are here and keep it as close to the way that it is now that we can, all the way to the end. And that's why I'd like to participate to help with that.
Great.
All right.
Great.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for coming in
Yeah.
and applying. Next candidate will be Barb Pallotta.
Not sure that she is here yet. We're a little ahead because we had the second candidate couldn't make it this evening
Right.
and got moved over. So
Right.
we may want to recess for a little bit. I don't believe she's here yet.
Is anybody else here by chance?
I don't believe so.
Take them out of order.
Yeah,
There.
that's true. Find out. Just give us just a second. No, no one else is here.
All right, so take a little recess.
Mhm.
Well, we're going to be in recess for why don't we say, we'll check in again at 1:45 and see if anybody has arrived. In the meantime, we're at recess at 6:35. 5:35.
I next?
You're next.
Yes.
Not only you're next, you're now.
I know. Hi, everyone.
So this is 15-minute segments, and you could make an opening remark, and then we're going to ask a series of questions, or we could ask the series of questions, and then you could make a closing remark, whatever your preference
How
is.
about the questions first?
Okay.
So I don't have to like repeat myself or something. Maybe I'll say something and you won't have to ask the question.
Okay.
So,
All right, I will start. In terms of personal goals, was there anything that has motivated you to seek the appointment of township trustee?
yes. Personally, I think most people that I've worked with here know the amount of time and energy I invested in the township. And since 2020, with COVID, which was extraordinary, every community, every household, every business had to change their whole organization and their way of doing business and their way of living. So that affected, our township, of course, quite a bit, and a lot of things had to be changed to enforce the mandates and the lockdowns. So having said that, I feel that because of that, it's extraordinary, but what is more extraordinary is the fact that 3 board members left resigned and had to be replaced. So there are 3 vacancies. So one of the things I always felt was that no one should be sitting up there campaigning, and that it's no surprise that incumbents have, a better chance of getting reelected. So with one, I was fine, but I thought having 3 big changes like that I could be the neutral one, because I have no ambition to run for office in 2024. I know the organization, I know how the departments are organized, I know all of the policies because basically I wrote a lot of them. And the agenda itself, how that is set up, it's such an honor to know that it's surviving and that you guys are able to amend it and change it, but keep the foundation. So my goal basically is to keep things running smoothly and just be a seamless transition on the board. And I know the ropes. So I will be one less thing that you have to worry about. And sitting next to Trustee Aliaga all those years, the supervisor position is way different than being a trustee. So there's a learning curve. And I would like to help him transition into that just because I already know the ropes.
Okay, thank you. Question 2. All township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
I'll say one word: retired. I do. I think that's probably another asset I bring, is that I am retired, and actually I have more time to devote to the township instead of just my job of being here. And all of you know that 3 elected full-time officials have their responsibilities. Well, now I can be a trustee and be a different part of the bigger picture, and I look forward to that.
Okay.
Third question, when you think about the future of the township, what are the most important goals that you would like to participate in bringing to reality?
Well, I'd like to see the senior center be expanded, of course, because that's a growing community. But I'd like to, this is what I'd really like to see. The political climate right now is really volatile. And the one thing that I always wanted to be able to do was go to the high school, to their government classes, and bring the equipment there and show the students how to use the equipment, how to get information to learn about candidates, verse them more in how to be a part of the process instead of showing up with their parents at the counter and their parents telling them how to register to vote. I know that we go there already because that happened when I was there, and I know that's continued, that we go over and register the 18-year-olds in the senior class. But I'd like to see that expanded, and I would love to be a part of that. I know you as Clerk Carey, you can't just do that because you have more things to focus on, but I would like to see something like that, kind of like a partnership with the high school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 4, what personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for the purpose of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
Okay, well, I did it for 9 years, and also all the other communities I worked in. I have experience with many, many kinds of different boards. And I will tell you, the first 18 months of my appointment I never worked with such a contentious board. And so I think which I'm able to do, because I am not political in any way, is that particular board let their personal feelings drive their decisions. And I feel what I bring to the table is not that. I understand ordinances, I understand state statutes, I understand the law, and I know that has to be applied first, but also for the good of the township. And I remember when people would come to my office and talk to me about things that they wanted to see done, I always reminded them I'm one vote. I'm just one vote on that board. So I think my biggest quality when it comes to making those decisions is that I'm very neutral. And what I'm really proud of is that the packets that we distribute to the trustees, they are very, very robust. There's lots of backup documentation. The recommended motions are pre-written, so there's standards. When I first started, the motions were crafted at the table, and I remember department heads calling me after a meeting say, what am I supposed to do? So I think that having all of that, it'll make everyone's job easier, but because I have knowledge of all that and why things are written certain ways, I think that that's a big value that I would bring.
Thank you. Jose, did you want to present your?
Sure.
Hi, Jose.
Barb, nice seeing you. What do you think is the biggest challenge in Independence Township? In our
Biggest
township,
challenge
yeah.
In the township, the roads, and getting from one end of the township to the other at peak times. We live north of Pine Knob, and at concert time, I always have to manage to figure a different way home. But I think the roads, also the budget, because of inflation and what's going on, with the economy overall in the United States, I think that we should focus on our budget and see where we can cut costs, if anywhere, and change our way of thinking a bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now you are free to give your final statement.
Okay. I think what motivated me was that I stayed out of the picture, but I also believe that things happen for a reason. So when the supervisor's position was open and the board was charged with the duty of appointing someone, and I saw that it was going again to possibly going to an election, I was having deja vu, because when I was appointed, that was possible that could have happened. And we had done it a couple times while I was on the board too, and came this close to having to conduct an election. I didn't follow the process at all, but actually the day that Trustee Aliaga filed his paperwork, I ran into him and his dad at Kroger. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't.
And I thought, well, that's weird that I'm running to him, and he just came from the township, and he told me that he just filed his paperwork. And then the day after the interviews, I ran into an employee, and the employee asked me if I watched the interviews, and I hadn't. And he asked me to watch them. So I did, and I just thought, I just need to come here and speak how I feel, and that was, you need to appoint someone, basically. So then when it turned out that the election was coming, that's when I gave serious thought about the vacancy. And I thought, well, one person having to be replaced will be okay. And depending on who got elected, there might not be any vacancy at all, because if Supervisor Fisher had been elected, then it would have been a moot point. But when the treasurer's spot opened up and Trustee Aliaga was appointed, that's when I knew I had to come forward. I just want to help. It boils down to that. And I know how easily things can go sideways in communities when a board isn't united and there's controversy. And I just want to be part of that again and keeping it stable until 2024. And I'm committed to not running in 2024. I love being retired. My children live on opposite sides of the country. But if you look at my record, you could probably count on one hand how many meetings I missed in the 9 years I was here. I was here at every meeting, and I have that same commitment now. So, and that's pretty much it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me in. Good
We
luck.
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Barb. He's not here yet.
Nobody's here yet?
Not with her, unless they're waiting in the audience, but I don't believe so.
Okay, well, we don't have a candidate here yet, so we'll take another 5-minute recess till 6 o'clock. Caleb?
Caleb.
Caleb.
Yeah.
Pepera.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, first time.
It'll be 15 minutes, and you can make a statement at the beginning, and then we'll ask questions, or we'll ask questions, and then you can make a statement at the end. Your pleasure.
Go first.
Okay.
All right, the first question is, in terms of personal goals, was there anything that has motivated you to seek the appointment of township trustee?
Personal goals, yes. I think a lot of the personal goals that I have to do with the local area of Independence. I live right down the street with my 2 kids and my wife. We've been living here for 7 years. I've been actually my whole life here in Clarkston. My personal goals, ooh. I think number one is integrity of small community. What's the question there? I have a lot of personal goals. I think, again, most of them are just small, but they are crucial and they might not matter now, but it's more about future.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Question 2,
Yeah.
all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board member, each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
I do. Depending on the time, I mean, I do nonprofit stuff. I work at a nonprofit farm part-time, but I'm pretty available. Yeah. Is there a certain amount of time that is needed or allotted per weekday, or?
Well, there's not a fixed amount of time
Yeah.
for it, but the packets come out and they're thick and there's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Maybe I think we need to give some details about the package so he can understand. I believe, well, as a trustee, we get a board package. They actually give some items, we're gonna be discussing that. So basically on Thursday, during the weekend, you get the package and you have time to read over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, you are ready actually to make decisions, but you have to have the time to read because sometimes we have a lot amount of data, information, and follow-ups and all that. That's basically the question. I mean, you're gonna have the time to do all that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I understand. So you review packet before the allotted time, next meeting, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you're interested in doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's something new for sure. I'm probably the youngest person in here, but I'd love to try.
Great.
Okay, question number 3. When you think about the future of the township,
Yeah.
what are the most important goals that you'd like to participate in bringing to reality?
The goals of myself or just what's kind of.
Well, the future of the township. So as a township trustee, if you
Yeah.
were to be appointed as township trustee, then what goals for the township are important to you in bringing to reality?
Okay. I should have brought my notes. Huh. Well, I suppose I probably should have prepared
Oh.
a little bit more.
Okay, look, basically,
Yeah.
it's not, if I
Yeah,
speak more, it's not a test or exam. Basically, how you feel is about the future of the township, about development, and what is your take about some of the services that we offer? What do you feel about, what is the future you're looking, what is the most important goal you think about the township overall? You see, you live in Independence Township quite a lot of times. So
For
that-
sure.
It's not a test, it's how you feel, like, what is your goal? You maybe think the roads need some improvement, you maybe think the parks, or something is what the question intends.
Okay. Yeah, so pretty much my thoughts. Well, there's a lot of infiltration of outside input in the township, mostly outsiders that haven't lived here, don't live here. I think development that's not needed, destruction of greenery. I think this township and this area is a great place to raise a family. However, I think it's getting overpopulated. You can't really control that, I know. But I think that it's being developed without thought. That's it. I mean,
Okay. Fair enough.
yeah.
You sure is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're not cutting me off. No.
Okay. Number 4, what personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for the purpose of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues.
I suppose being young, I think I see what my current generation is being exposed to and what they're not being exposed to. I'm a little bit more in tune with the financial aspect of what's happening when we're talking about CBDCs and global takeover. So I think I come from a different point of view than most of my age group. I'm 33. Again, I feel like I'm the youngest person here. It's a little awkward, but I think that I think I have something that maybe could be used on the Board of Trustees. It's just a different perspective. Raising a small family again, I think it's just a different perspective I bring.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Jose?
Sure. This will be the last question.
Okay.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for a township? Out of, the biggest challenge? I know it's many challenges, but what is the biggest challenge
Yes.
for you? Your own opinion.
Yeah.
For the township.
Yeah, for the township, just the township, Independence Township.
Agreeing. I think agreeing, finding agreements and
It's okay.
equal ground, using proper morals and ethics to move forward. I think a lot of people have different intentions for the township, and differences are hard to balance if you don't have a change in ideas or new blood to evaluate.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in and applying.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
I'm gonna lighten the mood and say I think I'm a close second by age.
How old is Madison?
Maybe.
Madison's younger.
I'm kidding, I know.
Yeah.
29, okay.
Yeah.
I saw ya.
Yeah.
Well, if she left the room,
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
it?
very much.
All right.
Just so that you probably don't know this, but we may be going over to next Tuesday because we have 2 more candidates to talk to then.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, take your time.
All right.
That's what I like.
I don't know how old Jose is.
What?
I don't know how old Jose is. I don't know anybody's age.
Aren't you younger than him?
So we'll take another break.
Sure, let's take another
Recess.
break.
It's now 6:08, so we'll recess to 6:15 hopefully. Mr. Tedder, thank you for coming over early.
It was perfect timing.
Okay, excellent, good to hear. And we have 15-minute sessions.
Okay.
And you can take your choice of either making an opening remark, and then we'll ask them some questions, or we'll ask questions, and then you can close it up.
Okay.
What's your choice? What's your pleasure?
I tell you what, I'll make an opening remark for a couple minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions if that
Questions,
works.
and then if there's time, you can say something again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, again, my name is Jim Tedder. I've formerly been a resident of the township for just shy of 17 years, but I've been a Clarkston kid, a Clarkston Independence kid for much longer. I started Clarkston schools as an 8-year-old and graduated from Clarkston High School in 1987. So regardless of where my life, whether it was college or professional career, took me, this was, in essence, where I grew up, where I gained my foundings in life, and where I'm very pleased to call home and raise my family. I have 3 kids. JT and Briggs are both graduated from Clarkston High School and now reside in the Grand Rapids area. My daughter Athena is a 10th grader, and my wife Nancy, she is a school counselor at Scripps Middle School in Lake Orion. So this community is very near and dear to my heart, not only for the past, but certainly the great quality of living and the great quality of life it has afforded me and my family. Professionally, I've had many privileges in life, but one of the best I would look back on was my time as a Clarkston schools teacher. I taught civics and history. I was also a school administrator for a few years, and then in 2014 I opted to pursue a legislative position with the Michigan House of Representatives. I was very fortunate to serve in that capacity for 4 years and gained a great deal of experience, including a tenure as the chairman of the House Tax Policy Committee. I pride myself on being a good fiscal steward, not only at the state level, but within my own household. In 2018, I went through a very similar process and sought an open vacancy on the township board, and I was fortunate to receive that nod. However, it wasn't but 6 or 7 months later that I was unfortunately forced to resign. I had accepted a full-time position with ITC Holdings Corporation as an area manager in local government and community affairs. And what that simply means is I was the liaison between the company and the communities that I served. And Oakland County and Independence included one of those areas. And so reluctantly, I did resign. However, back this past winter, I was encouraged to apply for an open position in the Stakeholder Relations Department. So I am now out of the political arena, but instead working directly with our industrial heavy load customers like General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, Marathon Oil, among others. So I've ran it up the flagpole both at home. It's very important that my wife supports my desire to serve, but also I've run it up all the way through our Chief Compliance Officer, and they are very supportive and encouraging of me to pursue this position. So I feel I bring a great wealth of experience. I have a balanced demeanor. I'm a solutions-based individual, and I look forward to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, question number 1. In terms of personal goals, was there anything that's motivated you to seek appointment for the township trustee position?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I have a heart for this community, and I think that's very evident in my many years of service as a former Cub Master, as a 26-year member of the Clarkston Rotary Club, as a wrestling coach, among others. My heart resides in this community. Second, I believe that strong leadership is integral to the continued success of this township. And I would say overall, in aggregate, we've had very strong leadership in this township. There's certainly no argument that there weren't some hiccups along the way. And I think that I bring a background of experience and balance and and frankly, common sense decision-making to the table. And so with two positions open, I'm certainly hopeful and hope that you would agree that I'm, among some of the most qualified to help support and augment the continued growth of this community. I would say if I were to maybe pinpoint some priorities, as we know, we're taking a look at our long-term plans for the future, and think it's critical that all residents, I've already chimed in as a resident, give their input to the master plan, because while I think in aggregate we all agree in certain terms, I think some of the contentious moments on this board have been in and around those discussions. And so I think it's really important that we as a board to motivate and influence others beyond this board to chime in and have a say in the development of that plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number two, all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
I have the time, I have the interest, and I can assure you I will provide that commitment as well. Again, there's very few things, if anything, I take on in life that I don't try to do it 100%. And those that have, whether it's family or work associates or people that have come to know me in different ways, would be able to affirm that that's exactly who I am. When I commit to something, I prioritize those obligations.
Thank you.
Question number 3. When you think about the future of the township, what are the most important goals that you would like to participate in seeing to reality?
Thank you for that question. As I mentioned, I think we need to be very thoughtful of what future development looks like. I think a community absent of development at all is sure to wither on the vine. But at the same time, that a community that is irresponsible about development can likewise fail. And while I have my own views of what good development is, it's not the same as those of you on this board perhaps, nor the people sitting behind me. And so I think, again, being thoughtful about our master plan and being a part of that process would be very meaningful to me. Also, sadly, as though I tried to deny it, I'm approaching that AARP age, and I think one of the things we've been remiss on, and I know there have been efforts, is to really bolster the opportunities for our senior community. Michigan is an aging state. Likewise, Independence Township is an aging community. We're talking about potentially passing a bond proposal for $200 million for Clarkson schools. Imagine what a fraction of that would do for expanding, improving upon the senior center. And lastly, I might say, I value what our parks may provide for recreation, for enjoyment, for sports and leisure. And I think we need to be mindful that all of our parks and recreation facilities within this township are treated fairly, equally, and that we continue to provide more opportunities in that area as well.
Thank you. Number 4, what personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for the purpose of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
Thank you. I had the great privilege, again, as I mentioned, of serving as in the state legislature. And through that important obligation, that important burden that I accepted and I was humbled to be voted into, I valued greatly the role of playing as an advocate and as a friend and an ally to those that I represented. And that, of course, included Lake Angeles, Independence Township, Clarkston, and Waterford Township. And I was very hands-on, very involved, whether it was office hours, attending meetings. So through that leadership, I was very successful in forming some meaningful and successful partnerships. And so I bring a strong sense of leadership and confidence to the table. I believe I believe that as a trustee, you need to have a strong backbone, because not every decision you make is going to be embraced. And frankly, just about every decision will be criticized from one side or the other. And so I commit to being a strong leader. I commit and feel that I'm a very balanced individual. Though I may disagree at times with the members of the board, I can assure you that I will disagree with a balanced and respectful tone that I think you are all deserving of.
Thank you. Jose?
Jim, what do you think is the biggest challenge for Independence Township?
I'm going to go back to the issue of growth.
Okay.
We had, and I was supportive of the bond proposal for our roads. I think it's paid dividends for us, but not everyone shared that sentiment. But one of the the consequences of growth and development are potential failings of infrastructure. And so whether that's water and sewer, whether that's our roads, whether that's trash service, whatever it is, it brings contention, and it brings, in some cases, distrust, depending on how those issues are dealt with. So again, I think we need to be very open, very transparent, and very mindful of what development looks like. And again, I think in large part we've done it right, but we need to continue to keep our finger on the pulse for that very important issue, because with growth comes positive outcomes, but also comes other consequences, and we need to be prepared for that.
Thank you. Do we have time for his others?
Yeah, he can wrap up.
I think we have a couple more minutes, and you can expound further on anything that wasn't asked, or you can answer or supplement your answers.
Sure. Yeah, well, again, I want to thank the board for this opportunity. I don't believe this was part of the process last time, so again, as a fan and an advocate of transparency, I think coming not only before the board, but before the public, whether they're here in person or on video, is extremely important. I believe I bring a very balanced and diverse background to this position. I've had the opportunity to serve in this capacity, albeit briefly, at the first, I believe it was one of my first township meetings. In a very tactful way, I addressed a matter that one of our contractors was trying to sweep under the rug relative to some work at the DPW. And I immediately worked with Dave McKee and the contractor, and we held their feet to the fire and found a number that was agreeable, that would make us whole in large part for their error. And so, again, as a hawk and a fiscal steward and a fiduciary of over $30 million in assets for this community in tax revenue, I owe it, and we owe it, to the township residents. So, and again, it's hard to express in a format like this, but my love and my heart for this community runs very deep. And whether I'm in office or out of an office, I enjoy being very involved in my community. And in fact, I'll be leaving here tonight to go volunteer at my Rotary Club's annual wine tasting event. And so, all of that being said, I believe I bring balanced leadership. I bring a heart and a strong desire to serve. And I really, again, want to thank all of you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you for applying and for being here tonight and making a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we have a meeting on Tuesday when we'll be continuing with applicants, so nothing will happen until then.
Perfect. Thank you. I was going to ask that correct question, so thank you for covering that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody?
I think you will be here shortly. He's
Okay.
not here already. Yes, he's here.
Okay. Fantastic. Mr. Tunis,
How are you, John Simmons?
please have a seat.
Sure, thank you.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
No problem, appreciate your consideration.
So we have scheduled these in 15-minute segments, and the way we are going to proceed depend on you and your judgment. You could make a little opening statement, and then we'll ask some questions, or we can ask questions first, and you can close it up.
Okay. Well, my name is John Tunis. I live on Ridge Trail North here in Clarkston, and I've been here for, November will be 7 years, or sorry, 8 years. Time goes fast. And I'm formerly from Brighton. I was an elected official in Brighton. I was on the city council. I was elected twice. Also served on the zoning board and the planning commission in Brighton. And I was very active in redevelopment with the DDA downtown, the principal shopping district board, and it was at a time where we were going through some very difficult years and had a lot of vacancy problems, especially in our commercial area on Main Street. And I was, one of the principal players in redeveloping the downtown in Brighton. At the time, I was also doing commercial real estate, and that helped. It helped attract a lot of restaurants and things of that nature through networks that I had. And the city was very interested in that since we were one of the first municipalities to have redevelopment liquor licenses, and that really helped our downtown quite a bit. And I moved here years ago. My wife, Evie, wanted to move here. We were looking for a fresh start. My then wife, Deb, when I was in Brighton, went through a period of brain cancer, and I lost her in 2013.
Sorry to hear that.
And so we were looking for a fresh start. And my wife's sister has lived in Clarkston for about 35 years, and she's always liked it out here. So we said, Clarkston it is. So here we are. And I haven't been in because I've been working on my house for about 7 or 8 years. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. You ready for a question?
Sure, fire
Okay.
away.
All right, I'll start off. In terms of personal goals, was there anything that's motivated you to seek appointment for the township trustee position?
I think it's a matter of getting re-involved in a community again. I had such deep involvement in Brighton that I felt I could utilize my experience and what I did for Brighton, and I decided that was my motivation to come back into the world again after a long hiatus and offer something good to the community and hopefully make a strong contribution to the community.
Great, thank you. Question 2, all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and the interest to devote to this preparation?
Oh, yeah. And I'm certainly used to the amount of paperwork that we used to get on a regular basis from all the boards that I sat on in Brighton, and the paperwork is no problem whatsoever. Now, granted, it may take a few weeks to get up and running. I have been retired, and I've been spending more time at Home Depot and Menards and places like that than in paperwork, but it's not a problem at all.
Okay, great.
So when you think about the future of the township, what's the most important goals that you would like to participate in bringing to reality?
I think that one of my main interests has always been to be attractive to families, especially young families, and have them stay here for a long period of time. And I'm hoping that the township has interest in developing and providing facilities towards that in the future. It seems that we have some room, some needs for that, and I hope that I could be part of that planning and instrumental in bringing some of those ideas to reality. And I think that it's important to have a constant flow of young families. I live in a subdivision right now that was originally built in 1993, and it's nice to see the transition that it's going through right now. We've over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a lot of young families coming in, and it's really been a great shot in the arm for the subdivision, and I think that also applies on a community level also.
Okay, thank you. Question 4, what personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for purposes of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
Well, I've been working in business, and I was a business owner for over 35 years. My career was as a furrier, I'm former owner of Bricker Tunis Furs in West Bloomfield, and so that was my primary career. I was a third-generation furrier in my family, and I also was in commercial real estate and also in commercial construction sales worldwide of water-filled cofferdams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're used for construction. And I was responsible for worldwide sales for that company. And I did business all over the world. So I think because of my business experience, that transcended into government. I didn't realize how valuable all of that would be until I went into government in Brighton. And again, it started out with the zoning board, and which was, I'd never done it before, and also working with the planning commission, and then everything grew a little bit at a time. So, that experience, I think, at this point with all the years, I think will be very valuable to the township.
Great. Jose?
Yes. Mr. Tunis,
Yes.
what do you think are the biggest challenges for Independence Township?
I think that some people would have desires to make it be a little bit more of a walkable community. I know you've done some great things with the safety path, where I believe we first met at the safety path meeting. And it was nice to see all the things that have occurred over the years. So I think the biggest challenge is taking everything that you put together at this point and trying to make it cohesive and get it to connect with other parts of the township. I think that because the township is so spread out, that it may end up being pockets that develop and pockets that people end up going to in order to, have that type of contact. I would say that would be an important point, especially with attracting younger families and offering them more to do.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think we have a moment or two if you want to give a wrap-up of any sort.
I would say just, I thank you. I appreciate your consideration. All these things take a little bit of time to get familiar with each other. And I think that as we go forward, you'll find that what I bring to the township will be very valuable and hopefully go forward for many, many years.
Great.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks again for coming in. We
Sure,
really
my pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is it a stay or go, or what is it?
Your choice.
Okay, good. Thanks.
We have one more applicant.
It's not here quite yet.
For tonight.
For tonight, yes.
Yes.
We'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Recess.
Okay, it's 6:45, and we'll take a 5-minute recess. We have another applicant here, the last one for the evening, Ken Zurich. And welcome, Mr. Zurich. Appreciate you
Thank
coming.
you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate the time.
The way this is organized here, we've been doing this in 15-minute segments. And you could make an opening remark, and then we'll ask a series of 5 questions, or we'll ask you the questions, and then you can make a closing remark. Whatever your pleasure is.
We'll do the closing remark.
Okay.
All right, we'll start off with question number 1. In terms of personal goals, was there anything that's motivated you to seek appointment for the township trustee position?
Well, I think as I get older, I'm available to spend a little more time helping the township steer the boat a little bit, what we're going to do in the future. And I've been on the Board of Deviations for a little over 2 years, first as an alternate and now full-time. And I think I enjoy the contributions I've been making to that. I'd like to grow a little bit more for the township to see if I can help out a little bit more. So my motivation is pretty much just, I live here, I've been living here for 30 years, and I'd like to help it continue to grow in the right direction.
Thank you. Number 2, all township board members, including trustees, are provided with a fair amount of written material to prepare for each board meeting. Do you have the time and interest to devote to this preparation?
Yes, I am retired for 3 years now, and just like on the zoning board of appeals, there is usually a handout, if you will, before each meeting, and it requires some time to maybe read and think about it before the petitioners come in.
Right, and probably a little bit more material for the board.
For the board, yes, I could imagine there's a little bit more involved than just some building codes.
And that's okay with you? You're interested?
That's okay with me, yes.
Okay.
So when you think about the future of the township, what are the most important goals that you would like to participate in bringing to reality?
I think we've been talking, the township's been talking about refuge collection, garbage collection for a number of years, and I'm wondering if it's time to try and make a final decision and get a common carrier, at least in the higher density areas. I think that would be a good place to start. I know there is some reluctance in the township with some homeowners, and I'm wondering if that's partly homeowners that have a much bigger lot and like the idea that they can make their own decisions, where maybe in a more dense population, it's more effective to have one carrier. There's, one set of trucks going through the neighborhood. A lot of the denser populations have more kids on, playing in the yard. And I think it's time to look at that as a community effort versus individual effort.
Okay, thank you.
I also like the push that may have been started, and I think it was started, the Dixie Highway development. I think Sashabaw is doing very well. A little bit disappointed in some of the sections of the cement that weren't replaced from the county, from the road commission. But I think Dixie Highway needs a little bit of help too now. It's a bit of an eyesore in my mind.
Okay. What personal and professional strengths would you bring to the board for purposes of making informed decisions on a wide variety of local government issues?
Well, I think I'm fundamentally an engineer, so I tend to analyze a little bit and look at some numbers and try and figure out maybe what is best for the community, not only from a financial point of view, but maybe for other topics, cosmetic things, or future expansion thoughts. So engineer fundamentally. I have been retired for 3 years. I worked for an automation machine company, Fanuc, and in my position I've finished as a staff engineer, so I would be the leader of things. I was also a project manager So I have, I think, some foundation that would be very helpful. And I enjoy reading the positive politics of Michigan. So I enjoy reading the local newspapers and keeping track of what's going on across the state, not just the township.
Great, thank you. Jose?
Mr. Surek, thank you for being here. The last question is, what do you think is the biggest challenge for Independence Township? The biggest challenges?
The biggest challenge? I guess I'm not sure what would be the biggest challenge, but one concern I have is the next explosion of growth that's going to be coming, I would think. I want to make sure that, there's a number of people working on that. We want to, we have committees trying to keep an eye on that, and I think the growth is potentially a problem in my mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would you like to
Well,
expound on any
I
of
think
these?
with the basic 4 or 5 questions, I think you kind of hit the big topics. I'm fundamentally an engineer. I'm retired. I already work, in a sense, for the township on a very limited basis on the zoning board. I like to think I have an idea that that it would be required of me to put a little more effort into the materials and understanding a much wider scope of activities. I mean, there's a water department. I kind of like clean water. I think I realize that the scope gets much bigger and much faster, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Thank you again for coming in. We appreciate your effort and application.
Good. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Everybody came here just for me, huh?
Okay, item number 2 is a discussion on the appointment interviews. It's probably premature at this point, I'm going to suggest.
I have a comment, though.
Comments, yeah.
Okay,
That's okay?
sure.
I think with the possibility of having a heavy agenda, as we're still working on that for our regular meeting on Tuesday night, I think it would be advantageous for us to maybe schedule a special meeting to continue the 2 interviews prior to our regular meeting, possibly at 5:30, if the board's available, but.
I concur with that.
Sure, I agree with that as well, but I spoke with many residents over the weekend, and many people told me that they would like to attend to this board meeting, but because it was 5 o'clock was kind of inconvenient for some people because they were working, and most people leave at 5, but they want to be able to come and address some ideas or some comments. So I wonder if we can maybe move it for 6, so giving time for some people that would like to attend and come.
Our regular meeting starts at 6.
No, I'm talking about the special meeting just as you want to do a special meeting?
Right before.
Oh, right
our
before,
regular meeting on
right
Tuesday.
before, on Tuesday.
'Cause we
Okay,
had already-
5:30.
The board had already approved to move any overflow to that meeting. But we've got some presentations already scheduled at the beginning of that meeting. I think we're discussing budget, so it's going to be a long meeting. And to try to base a time for those interviews, to give the candidates an idea of what time, I just thought it might be advantageous for us to meet prior to our meeting, if the
Prior to
board's
our meeting.
available. But
30 minutes will be enough time to, you know,
Two.
to 2, but then
Yeah.
we have to make a decision after that, right?
we could do that, or we could do it
We could
during the
do-
regular meeting.
Yeah,
In a regular meeting, okay.
We could just put that as an agenda item on the regular meeting.
sure.
Okay, that's much better, yeah.
Good. Everybody?
So 5:30?
Maybe any,
So we need a motion to set a special meeting at 5:30 on November 1.
So
I
moved.
you,
Terry, so moved?
Second.
we no, not any public comment or anything from,
Yeah,
yeah, I would like to.
if
since we
people would
made
like
the
to
motion.
make a comment.
Any comment?
Cheryl Janakis, 8990 Woodlawn Avenue. Before you deliberate on this, I would just like for you to think of the characteristics of a good trustee the reliability, honesty, impartiality, commitment, and lack of conflict of interest. Each one of you have a fiduciary duty to appoint a trustee in good faith. Your decisions are deeply affecting every single township resident. We all remember your past and present decisions when your term ends. We will remember when your term ends. The board has become stagnant with recycled board members, members who have voluntarily left before their terms ended. That shows a huge lack of commitment, along with questionable credibility. This has been a trend in Independence. I would like to ask Mr. Aliaga, did you endorse Miss I can't pronounce her name, Palooza?
Endorse for?
Did you endorse her? Are you endorsing her?
No, I'm not endorsing
Okay.
anybody.
Because she expressed to the board that you had a learning curve. And to me, that already kind of looks like that things aren't going to work out. She left the board once, and now she's already saying very insultive things to you. I don't believe you have a learning curve, do you?
No, I don't feel like it.
Okay, I don't believe so either. I think that was very insulting for her to say that. I'm going to endorse Sam Morocco. I'll be back to say the rest next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else care to speak?
Yeah, but
Yes, sir?
I would like to say, well, okay, after.
He was the next one
Okay, sure,
requested.
sure.
Okay, my name is Vincent Bizone. It's 7925 Foster Road. And I just wanted to say that I was really impressed with a number of the candidates tonight. I thought they were, you know, put on substantial presentations of themselves and their goals and all that kind of stuff. So it comes, you know, I'm thinking, you know, how do you pick two people from that group? You know, how do you make that kind of a decision? I know you guys will probably, you talk about it beforehand, right? Does that happen? Do you have, like, go through the different candidates and talk about them and what you think?
At the board meeting.
Yeah, at the
In
board.
public, in a public deliberation.
Publicly you do it?
Yes.
Sure. Well, you could do it privately too, but I would think.
Can't do that with a quorum, or it's a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, all right, so you gotta do it in public. But anyway, how do you pick two people from that, you know, from that group? And that brings me back to my original thing that I said before, which is, I think it's appropriate for the people of the township to elect the trustees on the board. And that's, you know, that's it. I don't think that it's up to you guys to do that and to recycle people who have been here and gone and worked for the township and have all kinds of friendships and connections and everything else. You know, it's kind of, it's messy and people are not trustful of the board. I don't know if you guys were aware of that or not, but there's a fair amount of distrust out in the community. And you need to do some things to be more transparent and to be more involving of the people in the community is my 2 cents worth here. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Barb?
Hi, Barb Privata, 5445 Ridge Trail North. I just feel compelled to respond to you. You don't know me, just so you know. But I think people who know me understand the commitment I had to the township for the 9 years I was here. And I sat next to Trustee Aliaga that the whole time he has been on the board. And I have
You want
deep
to direct your comments up here?
Oh, I'm sorry. And I have deep respect for Trustee Aliaga, and I know he knows that. And I just want to say that because the person who spoke about me doesn't know me, doesn't understand how I came here and how I was appointed, and the board that I worked with, somehow I managed to get appointed clerk under the most unique circumstances when the majority of the board really didn't want me to be clerk. When I was appointed, the township supervisor did not come into work, and the treasurer at that time did not want me to be appointed. But I pushed on because I cared about this township and I wanted it to be successful. And everybody on the board that I've worked with, which would be Ron, Trustee Ritchie, Trustee Aliaga, and Trustee or Treasurer Brown now, know the commitment that I had. I would be here at 3 in the morning. The first 18 months I had to do an election. I did all the absentee ballots myself. I delivered them to the post office because I had no support. So when I left because I couldn't do it anymore. And there's a value, if you understand the different duties of each of, between the trustees and the 3 elected officials, you have to realize that the statutory requirements are very strict for what you're able to do. So there will be a learning curve, and I hope Trustee Aliaga did not take offense to it because he knows, and he remembers what I said to him at Kroger's that day, and I was right. And he knows that I respect him. And I have never, in my campaign, I did not get one dime from anybody in this township or any business. I funded my campaign, my family funded it, and my friends, personal friends funded it. I am not tied to anybody in this township in any way other than my commitment to the public. So I hope that this nice woman will cut me some slack and get to know me before she makes a statement like that. I didn't abandon the township in any way. I did what was best for the township. You may not know this either, but Clerk Newbeck is the former deputy here, and I wanted to bring her back, and she doesn't know this, but I wanted to bring her back on her terms, but because I had no support on the board has to approve the salary and the benefits. They wouldn't hire her. They wouldn't hire her because I had no support. So I'm asking that if anyone wants to say anything like that publicly about any board member or another member of the community, do your homework because you don't know me. I would have really appreciated you talking to me before you made those statements this evening. So having said that, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to say something real quick.
Sure.
First of all, yeah, I just...
Member of the public?
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Hi, John Tunis, 5220 Ridge Trail North. I guess in the eyes of a lot of people in Clarkston, I'm still a fairly new resident at 7 or 8 years. But personally, I did take a little offense to the term recycled, okay? I think it's important to utilize people's experience, and just because people's lives go through changes, and in the case of, Barb Pilata's, all her years of service with the township, she's in a different aspect of her life. And actually, this becomes more of an exciting opportunity with a lot of the pressures that she had to endure in her position before, because there was more restrictions. So here you have somebody who has a wealth of experience, okay? And now she has, let's call it a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere to work in because of all the other pressures she had to endure before. So I think that the public should appreciate when someone comes forward with experience and not just dismiss them or call it favoritism and things like that. I don't think that's a fair thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
My name is Terry Whitney. I live at 4814 Sundale Drive.
You can pick up the microphone.
Oh, sorry. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
First and foremost, public service sucks. I just stating it, grow some freaking skin. Everybody's going to yell at you. Nobody's going to like what you have to do. No one's going to like what I have to say. Everybody here has had somebody pissed at them at some point. Everybody out there, if you're not going to be willing to have that experience, I'm sorry, it's going to happen to you. Doesn't matter who you are. I ran against somebody here who came up and interviewed tonight. That person's name is not Jim. I mean, this irks the shit out of me.
Please keep your language.
Yeah, well, his name is James Tedder, not Jim Tedder. You know who has aliases? Gangsters. He resigned from this board right after being appointed 5.5 months later. Resigned because he got a $130,000 job that had a 6-hour commitment. 6 hour. And he did it because on the assumption that it was a conflict of interest. Nothing's changed. Regardless of how his position's changed, the company he works for, and I have some mutual friends that work over there, they're hurting for business just like every other business. Whether it's Stenellis, FCA, FCA Pro, whatever, everybody in the entire country is hurting for business. So when you make your choice, when you make your decision, just remember two things. One, that guy, we are paying 16 cents per gallon thanks to that guy who is the tax chair in Lansing. That flows up, not down, up to the cost of our goods in this city, which is why we're all in just that much more of a pinch when it comes to inflation. And two, I don't want, and just for the record, I own a tiny little lot in this township. The last thing I want is somebody telling me I have to buy some freaking garbage service from a particular branded garbage can company. I like picking and choosing my garbage company. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, Jose?
Yeah. First of all, for the public, I appreciate everybody coming here and address their concern and comments. I know it takes a lot for you because, everybody works, everybody, after work coming here, and when I speak up and say something about what I just heard is, first of all, after August 2nd, after the primary election, I have a meeting with every director, with every single, most of the employees, people, some of the board members, to see where we are and where we're going. Just for everybody, I'm ready from day one. I'm ready to lead, I'm ready to command the township and work with the Board of Trustees. I have known most of them for months, years, and so I just want to be clear with everyone about that and everyone to know that I'm ready to lead and happy to help the community and work with the board. That's all I want to say today.
Okay, thank you. So is there any discussion, any additional discussion on the board with regard to the motion to set the special meeting for 5:30 p.m. on November 1? No other discussion. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we have a special meeting on Tuesday, November 1, 5:30. Without objection, I'm going to dispense with number 3 in that 3G3 and go to board member comments. If there are any board member comments? If
Well,
not, did you have?
Yeah, just really quick. I'm just happy to see that we're moving forward for November 1st and interview the other 2 candidates because some people were, concerned about we're going to be making decision tonight, and I'm happy to see that we're moving forward for November 1st. I want to thank you guys. And also, if you can let us know if that's possible I would like to see, this is different, this is public comment, right? So I would like to see if we're going to be, sometimes have some sort of workshop about the DDA thing as well.
Yes, and in fact, when we were on one of our recesses, I sent a text to Dick Carlisle to make sure he was available and told him to hold the time if he was available.
I think it will be very beneficial for all the board members. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Supervisor.
Absolutely. All right, yes, Carrie.
I just wanted to thank all the applicants that came out tonight, and looking forward to the others that we have next week. Not an easy task, and I appreciate those that have come forward. And I want to encourage those that may not have received an appointment, should the board move in that direction next week, to look to be on the ballot. This is more candidates than we've ever had since I've been in office as a trustee, seeking a trustee position. So in 2024, the position will be available again, and I encourage you and to seek your other friends and neighbors to come out and move forward towards that. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And we obviously, there'll be another appointment for after the election.
Yes.
When And see, that would be the election, does he have to be sworn in first before we can appoint?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be.
That'll happen before.
It'll happen
Happen
probably in
before.
December.
Okay, great. So that everybody knows that we will have another appointment also. And will we advertise that and allow additional people to apply?
We
We
can,
advertise
or-
this as being in the pool for both,
For
right?
both, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
this is
saw.
the pool for both.
Yeah. So from this group of candidates, we're gonna utilize for the next appointment.
I would think if somebody else steps forward to express their interest, maybe.
Well, I think
We
we should
should-
probably address that later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
later,
I'm just
because we already,
expressing my view on it.
because it's the motion we made before, though.
Because I won't be here for the other view. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Okay, ready to do this?
Very good.
No,